Uh-oh. Little invader on the pitch. What's up? Matt here. This is the Land Park Criterium Cat 5 race. This was a pretty epic race, and we're going to talk all about it. But first, some quick stats about me. So I weigh about 165 pounds, FTP's right around 256, which for all you watt nerds out there means my power to weight ratio is right around 3.5 or just under that. So this race was pretty cool. Started off right out the gate and was going at a pretty decent clip. And the conditions on the course were favorable. So on this course it was fairly warm, but we were racing at the 8 a.m. slot, and so it had only gotten to about 72 or 73 degrees by the time the race started. So the temperature was pretty comfortable. I checked the wind report the night before, and it was only 2 or 3 mile-an-hour winds, and so that allowed for us to gain a lot of speed over the course of this race. It was important to draft on this course, so there was a big pack. There's probably about 50 people in the field. Oh, goose! So there was a family of geese on the track during a warm-up lap. And apparently that was the only one that stuck around for the start of the race. Nobody crashed into it, and it didn't make another appearance, so that was good. But yeah, this track. So it is shaped like a bell pepper, I think. We just have come through a couple of the main corners, and the corners on this track are manageable, but not easy at the same time. That first chicane in particular, it's like more than a 90-degree turn, and so to go through that with good speed is challenging, and it's even harder to do that when you've got a whole pack of people around you. So over the course of this race, there were a ton of close calls in that first corner of the bell pepper course, but nobody actually crashed, which was great. I was not doing this race alone, so my buddy Tien was in this race. It was his first crit race ever, and he did fairly well, which was awesome for him. He stayed with the pack, made it to the end, and I think placed in the top 25. And then my buddy Noah right here on the left, I think it was his second crit race of the season, and he also did great. For this race, I'm riding my usual bike, my Cannondale CAD 12, with some Craigslist carbon wheels, really loving it. And my fitness for this criterium, and really for all crits, is not crit specific. So I've been training for the Leadville 100 mountain bike race over the last 3 or 4 months, and so I've been doing a bunch of efforts to build my base, and I've been doing efforts that like mimic some of the challenges of riding a mountain bike. And for the most part, those efforts don't mirror what you would do if you wanted to train for criterium. So my FTP is about 256 going into this race, and I was kind of worried that because I didn't have crit specific fitness I would struggle, but I actually did really well this race, and I think part of it is just that my body's getting sort of better at recovering from hard efforts because I've done 4 or 5 crits now, and another part of it is just that I am getting fitter, so that's great. Other things, so let's talk about max heart rate. So for me, my max heart rate is right around 189 beats per minute. I did that on like a Zwift workout back in April. So painful. And when I first started doing this kind of crit racing, I struggled to operate at a high percentage of my max heart rate. So at the first crit of the season in Chowchilla, California, when my heart rate was around 165 to 170 beats per minute, I was feeling awful. I was, feeling like a tingling sensation in my skin. I was sweating a bunch, I was breathing super hard, everything hurt at 165, 175, 170 beats per minute. But as I've gained more fitness, I've been able to operate at a higher percentage of my max heart rate, which is kind of cool. So at this race, as you'll see, my heart rate goes up from 160 to 170 to 175 to 180. And you know, when I get to an effort that's at 180, it feels hard, but I never blew up in the way that I did at Chowchilla, and my heart rate came down again pretty quickly. So it was kind of cool to see that adaptation happen over the course of a couple of months of consistent bike training. So in this race, I was trying to pay attention to wheels, and I also had a strategy coming in. It's not a super complicated strategy, but it was a strategy nonetheless. I figured that if the field was fast, I was just going to try and sit in and get a good draft for most of the race and save my energy for the final sprint. And then if the field were slower, I was going to try and do a like a breakaway attack. And this is because I had a couple of friends in the field with me, and so I figured if we wanted to go solo because YOLO, we might be able to. All right, so before we get to the breakaway section, though, I just want to highlight some of these corners here at Chowchilla. It's just constant chaos. So keep an eye on the guy with the pink top, blue bib pant. So we're coming in, we're going like 5 wide. This guy kind of gets pinched, almost skids out. Stuff like that was happening every single lap. Chowchilla. Lamb Park, it's sketchy like that at the top of the bell pepper. So if you ever race this course, just be ready for that trickiness. Okay, so this is the start of my short-lived breakaway attempt. So we're going through this section here. You can see it's stretched out. This is faster than it's normally on this section. We're hitting like 29, 30 miles an hour. I got a decent draft through part of this, and I was feeling good. I saw up ahead that the field was starting to slow down, and I really just wanted to maintain my momentum. So I started soft pedaling and made up some wheels. And then I was getting ahead of everybody, so I figured I'd just jam it for a minute. Next thing you know, I'm shooting off around the side, coming up over the front. So in this moment, what I should have done is fully committed to this effort and just like sprinted hard to get some separation. But it wasn't like a well thought out thing. I knew that I wanted to do a breakaway, but my friend Noah was interested in doing it too, but we didn't go together, so I was just out there by myself. So I was about to sort of give up and just float back into the field. But as we will see in a hot second, Noah saw my attack and pulled up next to me and was like, okay, here we go, let's do this. The problem here is that the field was like right on us. I don't think there was any separation, or if there was, it was only like a couple of bike lengths. But he's taken a solid pull here at the front. I'm realizing though that like there's no way this is gonna happen. I had been feeling good the whole race, and this effort just like immediately hit me that I was like going too deep, and the fact that the field was right behind us told me that we should stop this, or I should stop this at least. So we're going along here. Noah's kind of looking around. He's wondering where I'm at. We talked about this, and now I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, which, you know, just couldn't do it. Not fit enough. So right around here, I tell him that I'm not gonna go for it, and I'm just gonna let the pack reabsorb me. Which honestly, like I think that was the right move. I didn't have the energy for a big breakaway like that, but it was cool to figure out where the course slowed down and to carry momentum, and just see how it worked. We're about to come into the last lap here. So the field has stayed together. There were, I think, 51 or 52 people in this field, and the vast majority of the pack has just stayed with the pack. So it's going to come down to a field sprint. So at this point, I was thinking about what I wanted to do. I wanted to be closer to the front of this pack, but one of the things I realized after the fact was like I didn't know how far up I should have been. Like right now, I'm probably in like 20th or something, but we're also like 5 wide, so it's just a weird spot. So anyways, we can see people start to drill it a little bit. It starts to thin out a little bit as folks are going hard. And this probably would have been a place to dig a little bit and to make up some wheels and get a little further up in the front. There was also a break that was happening, but the break was getting like pulled back like right now. I think that guy on the right, like 937, was the solo breakaway guy. So we caught him. field's back together. It's going to come into a final sprint. I think one of the things about crit racing is you need to be aggressive, and I don't quite have that instinct yet. Like, this corner just kind of sketched me out because of all the close calls throughout the race, so I could have jammed it really hard and like made up positions there, but I just didn't want to overcook myself. All right, so this is kind of the final countdown. So we're at the top of the bell pepper. We're heading back towards the finish line. This guy in the pink bike was, you know, working hard. He was making up some wheels, so I figured I'd just draft off him for a minute. Trying to stay as close behind him as possible until this next corner. This corner was kind of tricky. Like, it didn't seem that sketchy, but it was just like always a little sharper than you thought. And then the end of the outside turn was a gutter, and so you could get caught in the gutter. So I was trying to take this at a reasonable pace, but now it's game time. So the guy in front of me, the Pit Viper, huge quads, he just starts jamming it, and so I started following him. In hindsight, I should have like worked a little harder so I could have actually been in his draft and not been like, you know, 2 bike lengths or a bike length behind him. I made up a little bit of ground here, but I could have saved more energy if I was a little bit closer. So we're both going, we're making up some space, and bam, crossing the finish. So in this race, I got 12th place out of 50 people, which is, from a percentage perspective, my best crit performance yet, top 25%. So pretty happy with it. In hindsight, if I had done a better job, like if I just started going a little earlier, started my sprint a little earlier, I could have made up like another 3 or 4 positions. Like I was gaining on those guys in the last couple of meters. And also, if I had like positioned myself better in this bottom half of the course, I would have been closer to the front. But overall, really great race. Got 12th, Noah got 13th, Tien got like 21st, I think. So pretty good stuff. So till the next one.